Hey, welcome to Non-Doctors. I'm Liz Mealy.
I'm Maria Shahada. We're together.
Yeah, we're in the same room. Look at us. I look too relaxed and you're looking really tall.
I know. I'm sitting on 4 pillows.
Oh, you're cheating. I didn't know you're sitting on pillows. How you doing, Muffin?
Good. I'm good. Yeah.
This is full chaos. There's so many wires and my cat eats wires professionally. So this might be pure chaos.
This kitten is a lot. I should have waited a few years before come visiting you again.
All kittens are a lot, but yeah, I stockpiled on toys, so I'll just be throwing these randomly. These creepy toys. Make sure. Oh, he saw one. Oh no.
Oh God.
Oh God.
Yeah. All right.
He's eating shoes right now. Oh no. He's discovered us. I really do feel like it's a lion that we're just avoiding.
Oh crap. He's already bit me.
Yeah, but they bite. Like I put out a tweet like last week that was just like, I'm like covered in scratches and bites from this kitten. And I was like, I believe the scratches are like a baby that doesn't understand what it's doing. The bites feel personal. Like, the bites hurt. The bites are aggressive.
I understand that he's much smaller than me and he thinks he's the victim, but I'm the victim. I don't bite.
You've never bitten. I've known you a long time.
Yeah, I just don't.
Yeah.
Not
It's not, you use your words, and I really appreciate it. The amount of times that I am like, use your words. Jay, I do, because I'm the first apartment in the building, and I wonder what they hear.
Yeah.
Because I was even telling you the other day, I leave my apartment. I'm like, I love you. Bye, abs. And I come in. I'm just like, how was your day? How's it going? And then also like, I'll kill your family. Like, we did an old sketch up with pasta. Where my friend, do you ever know Lance Weiss, comic here?
Yeah, is that the one where pasta was in the background? Like, who was off screen? Like Chris was off screen, like getting pasta to come run back and forth.
Oh, I was on the other side with treats. So all you see is a doorway, and you see Lance with like pantyhose across his face, and he looks like he's a robber stealing stuff. And then you just see pasta trailing him, and it's all in the door frame. And then we had him like it was like pasta was like, you know, attacking the burglar, but it's just so funny because pasta with her arms like flaccid out and Lance is like God. And it's just so dumb and so perfect. Is Lance still in New York? He is.
Oh,
yeah.
I say hi.
You should. There's just some people, like the comedy scene is so funny in the sense that like I remember there was one week me and Mike Kaplan had like 8 shows together, random shows, bar shows, club shows. It wasn't even like clubs that make sense because certain clubs favor certain comics. This was like a modge podge of, you know, bars and small rooms and clubs. We had like almost every show together. And then I didn't see him for like 2 years. Yeah. Like, it's just like,
it also feels like college a little bit where like you kind of just see the same people over and over again, even though like within your major, there are a lot of people, but there are just some people who you just kind of like, the classes you take are the same times they take classes, and you end up...
and they seem to always study in the morning, so you see them at the you like you start to realize that people, or like I don't know, some people get off tour and they always take Sunday off or Monday off, and there's just some people that like get off a plane, they have their luggage with them. You know what I mean? Like you start to certain people's habits, or like, you know, Mark Norman will be headlining and he'll still do small shows, which is somewhat kind of what I do. Not all the time, but I will be in a habit if I'm building up my material to be like double, triple booking. And then there's some people that are like, yeah, I took 2 weeks off. I was just tired. And you're like, what? You can do that?
What I don't understand about the New York comedy scene is like, I come back here, I see comedians that I started with like almost 20 years ago, and they're still on the scene doing things. And before them were comedians who started 20 years before that, still on the scene doing things. It's like, how does New York have room for all the new people coming in? Because old people don't go. They don't like, they stay. So it's like a cemetery that gets like more and more crowded.
No. And they start burying people on top of each other. And that's you're like, how do we not have, remember like how the 50s had all these comedy teams? Like we need more teams. Like
pair up.
For some reason, it's only twins now, but we need more comedy teams. No, I remember this so specifically. When Bill Burr moved to LA, he did so many spots. There was like a huge shift, like 9 people moved forward when Bill went to LA and New York. And same when people die, like it's kind of crazy because if you're like a real, no, get away from our wires. No. That was we almost lost the light. That would have been. And I'm out of toys. We used them in 5 minutes.
I'll be happy if we get to 40 minutes.
Yeah. I'm like at the end of it, just like, see us next week.
like, help me! Just have claw marks and just bleeding. Thanks for listening.
Call help. But
Tots just appears behind the couch slowly. Fuck.
It's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Sorry.
Both
I hope
cuties.
you don't like date someone forever and then date someone new, because I'll be like,
no.
Sorry.
My brother, when I first got him, I was comparing him to Tots a lot, and Sam's like, Jesus Christ. He was like, is that what you do with boyfriends? And I was just like, no, you have to understand. A boyfriend, you go through the full arc, the honeymoon phase, the like we're dating and things are consistent. I hate you and I hope you die, and then we break up. So you felt everything. So it's like it has a closing chapter. When you date somebody a month and then they just break up with you, or like something bad happens, you're like, you haven't fully processed that relationship. And that's what happened with Abs. Like I had him a month, he got sick, and then he was gone. Or Tots. See, I'm getting better.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay.
But I called him Tots for like a full week.
He has no idea.
But like I was comparing it to him. I kept using his name. I was just like, do you understand how like that there was no ending? It wasn't the ending it was supposed to be. You cannot be here. Oh God.
Might as well.
He just
doctors and abs.
Yeah, he just learned how to climb on the table and the counter, and he's bigger now with this length. And he's so destructive and crazy. Run off. The thing is, if you give him a lot of love, he doesn't want to be around you, and that really helps as well.
Yeah. It's smothering.
Yeah, smothering has really gotten him. But he crawled into my lap and fell asleep.
I just realized like smothering has the word mother in it, so it's like I'm his smother.
Oh, I'm your smother. He looked like he was about to run and jump. Insane. Learning about wires. Anyway, no. Sorry, that's gonna happen. Remember when pasta ruined every episode?
Oh yeah, no, I know. No, it's exciting. I mean, we never had anything to say anyway. It was all just the cat. So for so long we were just like, what are we talking about now? So finally we have this distraction again.
Well, I am on like maternity leave. Like I've had
paternity leave. I've turned that
paternity leave. Paternity leave. I've had him a month, and it is one of those things where like I should be busy. Like the amount of pictures I have of him, I've already written like 6 jokes about him. Like that's why I had so many pasta jokes on my first album, because I was depressed and I didn't know anybody. Like I didn't have any friends.
Like you looked at pasta, you're like, it's all you. You are my everything.
But when you don't leave the house, like what are you observing? Just like this crazy animal. And then I would do shows, and you can't be observant around other comics because we're all experiencing the same thing. So it's just like the only unique thing I had was my cat jokes.
Yeah. I mean, that's why Zoom, like lockdown was so hard, because it was like you could do some Zoom jokes, but everyone's done that.
Yeah.
And otherwise there's nothing going on. I have nothing to say.
And there's nothing worse than coming up with a pandemic joke and then somebody had the same perspective and you're like, oh my God, the whole world has my perspective.
Yeah.
But the whole world went through the same thing.
Yeah. What a balance that was, trying to figure out like what was
an original pandemic joke.
Jesus Christ.
So I have pandemic breakup jokes, and for a while I was just like, okay, they feel pretty. And then now I'm starting to hear people that have like a similar perspective. I'm like, I'm glad I'm done doing those jokes. Announcements?
Yeah, let's announce.
Patreons, people that support us, we're grateful. We appreciate you. You're wonderful. If you guys don't know and you want to become a Patreon, for contributing, you can get weekly bonuses, you can get monthly bonuses, you can get stickers, you can become a Google guest.
You can control our Googles.
Yeah. You can also get my book, you can get Maria's album, you can get my albums. There's tons of benefits. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/2nondoctors. It's the full word doctors, and see what tier you want to contribute to.
Yes. And if you're feeling time in your, if you're feeling, yes. And if you're feeling kind and you have time, please leave us a rate and review on Apple Podcasts, because we love it. It helps us get seen. We share it. It makes our day. And thanks to everyone who's left reviews. And follow us on the socials. We're on Instagram at 2nondrs. That's the number 2 DRS. And then Twitter, Facebook, YouTube at 2nondoctors. It's the number 2 full word doctors. And yeah, and my album's out. You know that, everyone knows. I don't know, maybe you don't know that. It is out. You can get it on Bandcamp if you go to mariashahada.bandcamp.com. Every time I say Bandcamp, I want to say like Bandcamp. I don't know why. or like stream it. It's not on Spotify, but it's on most other things. And thanks to everyone who's bought it so far and left like kind things to say. Oh yeah, some of you followed me on YouTube last time. I asked you to follow me on YouTube. Please follow me on YouTube. I'm gonna post more stand-up videos when I get a chance. But yeah, I'm just trying to get numbers up if I'm being honest. So it would be really helpful if you followed me, even if you never pay attention.
Yeah. I am touring at the end of July. I'll be at the DC Improv in DC. I'm going to be at the Punchline in Atlanta. Then I'm doing some shows in Pensacola and Panama City in Florida in August, as well as the San Francisco Punchline. And then I go outside of Denver, Greenwood Village, and then Long Island. I think those are in September. So everything is at lizmealy.com if you want to get tickets. And I'm still waiting when my new special is coming out. You guys will probably be one of the first people to know.
And I forgot to say I'm doing the Camden Fringe. And so if you're in London, I'm at 2 North Down on August 9th and 14th at 8:45.
I'm sorry. I just looked and I realized like when I was cleaning his litter, I didn't put the thing down. He could still get in, but then he stole my water bottle and it's in his litter.
Wow, he actually picked up your water and put it in his litter. There's water in it too. That's too strong for a kitten. What is this thing going to become?
I'm just letting that happen and I'll fix that later. I'm very upset about that. Okay, fan mail?
Yes. So it was a YouTube comment and they say it's from Pimpokio Nose.
I like what you did there.
That's a bummer with them misrepresenting your older material. So I had talked about in a past episode things I would never do again, which is sign away my comedy for $25 and how they've been using it for the past like 13 years essentially as new. So this guy has this YouTube channel and they've been just reposting my material for 13 years as if it was yesterday. But not that just that, but they've changed it now like to chick comedy. Like they've put like really like sexual titles by it, which is really upsetting. So he says that's or she, I'm sorry, I have no idea what the gender, that's a bummer with them misrepresenting your older material. I love being able to go backwards in a comics catalog nowadays just to watch the progression of the material and society. But I get it. I definitely have old videos of not my proudest moments. Hopefully you can work something out with them. Good luck. Thank you. I agree with you about being able to see like older material. I do have a video on my YouTube from 2006 that do you remember Tiger?
Yeah.
This guy, like I don't even mind that he has my material and he's posting. I just like he's such a nice guy, but like he would have shows everywhere, like an Ethiopian restaurant. Did you ever do the Ethiopian restaurant on 14th? Anyway, he like posted my material from 2006, but like he doesn't repost it every year as if it's new. But like I have that on my YouTube because I like to see like little old year in me doing material versus now.
Well, also what's interesting is so like I have stuff because I was an early adopter of YouTube. So I have stuff I think from like 2008, like some older stuff. But you can see timestamps. But then when I put my full hour on, which I filmed almost 10 years ago, actually, I think I have even older stuff from then 2008. But anyway, when that old thing was, God, it was 28. I can't remember when that was, but it's almost 10 years old. So I put it out in March of 2020 being like, hey guys, we're all stuck at home. Here's my old hour for free. This is when I recorded, But you see people that are like, because I have a Tinder joke. I'm like, Tinder, what's up with Tinder? People are like, what did this girl just discover Tinder? And it very clearly is like, this is 8 years old. We're in a pandemic. Here's some old stuff. And I'm glad people like it. And more people have seen it in the last 2 years than ever saw it when I put it out. But it is kind of crazy where like, or like somebody will be being like commenting on me and I'd be like, that's 8 years. That's almost 10 years ago, Liz. Like she don't exist anymore.
Oh yeah, like saying how hot you are.
Yeah. But my personality and my face are gone.
I'm like 30 pounds heavier. That's not me. But yeah, she was cute. You were right.
Yeah. She also would never have talked to you. So I don't know. She's gone. She's dead. She's a different woman now. So that always kind of makes me laugh. Or what's even worse is because I did something that was almost 10 years old and then something that was from this cat. I cannot do this.
Well, we're doing
Yeah,
it.
well, the plant here will get sick.
Let me just pause.
What was I saying? So I think what I find fascinating is that people are seeing something that's almost 10 years old, and then immediately they can see something that's like a year old, and people are like, ugh. And I'm like, hey, it's been 10 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't like do heroin. Like, it's just like I aged because that's what happens. And I'm not ashamed to have gotten older.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah.
Well, but just going back to this, it's obviously the misrepresenting that I'm annoyed about is just the titles of the videos and like reposting it as if that's me now.
Yeah, and I think it's really slimy that, like, I guess they were slimy then and they knew what they were doing, but because YouTube has changed and how much money people can make from it and all that stuff, it's just like there's no like, hey, I made some money off you, here's some of it. Like it's like, I own this is mine.
Eating flowers.
God damn it, Abs.
Sorry, just gonna pause.
God damn it, Abs.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Googles.
Yeah.
I'll go first.
Go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if I talked about it. I did a 48-hour fast. Did I mention
No,
that?
you didn't tell me that.
I didn't tell you that at all. I didn't even tell
No,
you.
I'm so glad you didn't contact me in 48 hours that you did that.
Actually, I was more pleasant during that than I was for this.
Oh.
I'm not feeling well. But okay, so I went to my gynecologist. She told me I had the polycystic ovarian syndrome. And then I was just talking to her because like gut health and hormone health are very related. And I was telling her, well, like, you know, I'm probably going to change my diet and I've always had problems with my gut and whatever. She's like, oh, well, a great way to like start your new diet and in general help with gut health is to do a fast and a 48-hour fast because the bad bacteria dies before the good bacteria does.
Really?
So I did a bunch of research because I was like, she said, and what I do like about this doctor, I've seen her for over almost 15 years, is she's progressively gotten nicer. She was very like kind of, I don't think she's Russian, but like that kind of like, no, don't do that. You're wrong. And you're like, okay. Just smile when you're telling me I'm wrong. Like just something that makes me feel safe. She's a good doctor, but her bedside manner has gotten so much calmer and nicer, or she just has known me for 15 years and she's just, and then also she will, I think legality wise, they can't tell you about non-medicine medicine, but she does. Like, you know what I mean? Like she'll tell me like, you know, have apple cider vinegar with water and why that's good and da 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 da. But like, so anyway, so one of the things she says is she fasts and she does it so much now that she can do it while working, but clearly in the beginning, but she said the 48-hour fast is just a great way to like kill off the bad bacteria. So I just wanted to learn more about how that works. So my Google was, how long can bad bacteria live in your gut without food? It did say about 48 hours, but it says abstaining from food for a significant period of time heals the lining of the digestive system, reduces stress on the immune system, and resets the microbiome by increasing symbiotic microorganisms diversity while simultaneously eliminating sugar-loving and disease-causing pathogens through nutrient starvation. So it was hard. Like it was, I would say the first 24 hours, I actually did okay energy-wise and I got stuff done because I was just like hungry and I needed a distraction. I did a show. So at about 24 hours, I did a show and this is kind of funny. They were low energy and I was low energy, but they sucked and I just was low energy. And then this woman kind of heckles, interrupts me. So I had this new joke about like how every guy's profile online the same. Yeah. And before I can even get to my next line, she goes, I know, right? She goes, they all say I lost my keys. And I look at her and I'm like, what? And she goes, on Hinge, the question will be like, what do you always lose? They always say their keys. And I looked at her and I went, thank you for your contribution. Like I had nothing. My brain was working so slowly and they were already not good. And I literally was like, thank you for your contribution. And then I was like, I'm not on Hinge, but I'm not going to tell you where I am because you can't get this. And then I moved on.
That's so funny.
But I was watching how shitty slow my brain was.
But that's also not your fault. I mean, it's funny that you had such a slow reaction, but it felt to me that she must have had this conversation with her friends before, and then they validated that, and so then she just threw out the keys thing as if that were like everyone's experience.
It was like, I was like, what? Like, I had no idea what she was saying. And I do very specifically say online dating, like I keep it generic. But so the first 24 hours were like hard, but I was actually able to get stuff done. Waking up the next day, so I was probably at 24, so I was probably at like 31, 30, no, probably like 35. I was a mess. I was dizzy. I was like heavy. I felt like somebody was sitting on top of my shoulders, and it was like stomach pain.
Shit.
But the good thing is I had to go edit with Chris. So I went over to his place and like edited and stuff. And he was like, it went well, and it was really distracting. And I drank a lot of water, and he texted me right afterwards. He's like, I was surprised how good of a mood you were in and how unbitchy you were. And I was like, well, you lived with me for 11 years. So I will say that is a compliment / you would know my levels of bitchy. But I actually, and then I had to do a self-tape, but I did almost nothing else for the 48 hours. And I had beliefs that I was going to try to like sleep through it and go the next day. But as soon as I hit 48 hours, I was like, food time.
Yeah.
But I would do it again. It was really hard. I did it immediately, like the day after my gyno suggested it, because I literally didn't have much for 2 days, and I don't really have an opportunity where I don't have that much going on.
Yeah.
I just didn't stick with my diet, which I wish I did.
Okay. So do you worry about with like fasting, how it slows your metabolism?
I already do intermittent fasting, and not really.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Did you Google?
Well, because I'm over here, I'm staying with Liz, and she looks at me and she's like, a compost now? And I was like, okay. It made me feel like you upgraded your group of friends in high school. I wasn't a part of it. I don't know. I was just the way you said it, like made me feel so left out.
I just like hand you lipstick and I'd be like, please.
I know, like I felt like a monster forever having thrown away an eggshell. I was like, sorry. And then so I asked what I got this Tibetan soup, and as you do in New York. And it had those black wavy mushrooms that I can't eat. I hate them in hot and sour soup and stuff. So I was like, what can I put mushrooms in your compost? And you said, no, you can't have cooked food in there. I don't know why. And I was like, that would be a good Google. And you're like, you're free to Google it. So I did. And this was Liz that ate. And the thing is that you can put cooked food in your compost.
Oh, you can?
Yes. Like you can put cooked vegetables. They say to like chop it up a bit, so it's not like you're not putting like a whole fucking boiled potato in there or whatever, but you can. It's the stuff that is on cooked food that ends up being the problem. So
like the oil. So
oils will slow down the composition process. And when you slow something like that down, the like bacteria forms, and it could get like an infiltrate. What is the word?
Infestation?
It's not infestation or infiltrate. It's like it could affect basically, like if you're using that dirt for crops, like it could get in there. I can't remember the word, but it's not infiltrate. Like that seems like militaristic.
Yeah.
Anywho, so that's the problem with like cooked food, is that the stuff in it, like sugars, oils, sauces, just like stuff like that, aren't necessarily good for compost. And there is a different, like you can put meat in compost, an at-home one you wouldn't want to do because it could attract pests, but like you could put like carcasses and stuff in like a municipal, like if you send it off, those composts. I think the reason you wouldn't want to do meat is if it does take time to break down, it will tend to attract pests that you don't want.
I guess I just don't know where this is going. So like my mom has those composting worms, and then she's turning it into, I guess, fertilizer or whatever, but it's all like in-house. So all those rules make sense for her. But like we just have a bin the same way you have a recycling bin.
Yeah.
And somebody picks it up. But I have no idea. Like they could be taking it and just throwing it out and we just pretend like we're good people.
Yeah.
Like I would have no idea. It's just, and then I got the composting bags that you put them in.
No, I get that. Yeah. Well, so why do you do it?
My brother told me to.
Okay.
And it makes me feel like a better person.
Is it good for the environment? Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are running out of space of where to put our garbage. China doesn't buy our garbage anymore. They were like, no, thank you.
Oh.
That stopped, I think, in 2020. China was like, go fuck yourself. Here's your garbage.
Why do countries buy other countries' garbage again?
Because we want to pretend like we're so rich and privileged that we go, hey, we're not going to do anything nice, and we're not going to try to reuse or do anything. So we have this kind of like, I use this cup once, go fuck yourself. But then we don't want to see it either. So we give it to other countries to be like, your place can be gross and we'll pay you to have a gross country.
So China doesn't buy it.
No, we pay China to take our garbage.
Okay, you said China buys our garbage. I was like, why would they do that?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just phrased it wrong. No, we pay them to take our garbage. And China said no, thank you. Oh. But there's certain countries, like I forget, I don't know if it was Egypt or somewhere else, but they are like known as like the best recyclers. I think it was Egypt, where they literally recycle everything, but it's tedious.
They got donkeys.
Huh?
They got donkeys.
What does that mean?
Egypt, they just got goats, donkeys. I don't know. I just remember donkeys in Egypt, but I confuse them with goats. Goats would eat your garbage. I don't think donkeys do.
Great. No, but what I saw, it was like a whole documentary where we're both idiots. Nobody's listening to us because we're not idiots. But they like literally people would go in and be like, this can like they would, because like that's the biggest problem with our recycling is that you put like one cap that shouldn't be recycled and like the whole thing is everything we do is shitty and half-ass.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. That was really interesting. So I did not mean to yawn. I'm just reading here because I really think there is a situation where countries buy garbage. Sweden is one of them because they're running out of garbage. But why does a country need garbage? Thanks to an innovative waste to energy program, Sweden was in a position where it was actually forced to import garbage from other nations. In the years since Sweden's energy revolution has helped the nation virtually eliminate its waste while helping other trash producers rid themselves of refuse.
Oh, cool.
That is really fucking cool. The Nordic countries, they just get it. They get it. Yeah, they've made amazing strides in refining the recycling process countrywide. I don't know. Why don't we just copy everything they do?
I don't understand that. Like there's countries, and like I get that we're bigger, blah, blah, blah. But even if like certain states adopted it, like why can't we just be better?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think, was it Ivanka Trump? Be better?
I don't know.
Not Ivanka. What was his wife? Melania. That was her phrase. Be better. Why can't we just be better? Yeah, I guess I'm just trying. I'm trying.
Yeah, no,
it takes no effort. I bought like a little thing. I throw in my eggshells.
Wait, okay. I just saw your eggshells were in the trash, and I was wondering why.
I forgot. Damn it! I'm so
I was like, maybe she doesn't know that you can compost eggshells.
That's like the one thing I do know.
It's hard. You have a new kitten. You're not eating.
And who's going on the counters?
Yeah. Should we have a disclaimer? I know nobody listens to us anyway, and we talk about how stupid we are all the time. Nobody is telling you to go out and fast. So don't go out and fast.
Oh, yeah, we're idiots.
And don't blame us for anything.
We're idiots.
Yeah.
We've always been idiots. I can't believe you're listening.
Yeah.
Let's get personal.
Yeah.
Okay. What were some of the turning points in your life?
Well, okay. Getting a job at a comedy club and starting comedy. Two major ones. 21, 22, something like that.
Yeah.
I started comedy at 24.
Okay.
And then yeah, so those are big ones. And then I don't know, moving to New York, huge. Moving to LA, pretty big deal. Moving to London, hugest. Yeah. So I don't think anything really significant happened to me before I started comedy. It's pretty much just trudging along.
Would you say like comedy woke you up to possibilities, or comedy changed your personality, or like? Like why would you say each of those things you said were turning points?
Oh, that's interesting. Actually, I do think a turning point was when, hear me out. I do think a turning point is when I got introduced. My brother introduced me to the Grateful Dead. And then I went to a Grateful Dead show when I was 15 years old. And then Jerry died like right after. My fault. But like kind of seeing this different way of life, like the way people lived, like they would, like hippies that followed the dead, and it was their lifestyle to like travel from show to show, and like they'd make money in the parking lot selling goods or grilled cheese sandwiches or whatever the fuck they did. It just like blew my mind because I didn't even know that way of life existed. I think this like counterculture like that you could do. So I think I wanted to make that my lifestyle, but rather than being a fan, I wanted to be the Dead. So when comedy came along, I was like, that's how I do it.
Yeah, that's how I make those grilled cheese sandwiches.
I don't know, comedy just made sense in my life. And so like it was the first time that I felt like I was in control of my life, and like I was in a direction and I was taking steps towards that direction rather than just kind of being whipped around. Like they told me I should go to school, so now I'm in school, and they told me I need to go to college, so now I'm in college and I don't really know what I want to do. And then like comedy was the first thing that was like, no, this is what I want to do. And I was taking active steps towards it. And that was the first time I think maybe I had like agency.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just like moving to different cities, and those just feel like obvious turning points, but maybe it was just traveling in the first place. And then like Anthony Bourdain, and watching him, like he really inspired me to travel more.
It's funny because I think we hit similar bullet points. Like 13 was when I discovered stand-up, and I was like, what the fuck is this? Yeah. Like I was like, and it was the first time that I was like, you first become a fan, and I'm just like, this is the coolest thing ever, and I just want to show it to people. Like I discovered it. And and then I was like, I want to do this. And then, I would say probably one of the biggest turning points clearly is when you start. So when I started at 16, it changed everything. Like it changed my demeanor. It changed my goals. I stopped doing drugs. I stopped partying. I wasn't as sad, still sad, but like I wasn't as sad. I had goals. I was focused. Same thing. I had agency. It just, I don't know. There was something about just liking something and feeling like at least I want to try it, and not being scared to try it.
Yeah.
And when I failed, when I bombed, when it didn't go well, not giving up. And there's so much that I had tried and gave up because either I didn't care enough, or I wasn't old enough to know how much work it took. So like when I discovered stand-up at 13, I started reading every book, and this is before podcasts, this is before whatever. So it was like Margaret Cho had a book about starting at 15. That's something that was very influential. I knew Chris Rock started at 17. Chappelle started at 14. Like all that stuff was really influential into believing that I could start as a teenager, that it was possible, that I could do this at all, let alone start when I started. I would say I had a really bad breakup when I was 25. It was like my first real boyfriend. Just pauses it. It was my first like real boyfriend, first real relationship, first love. And when he broke up with me, I was a mess. Like I was depressed for 2 years. We were living together, so I was like homeless. I stayed with you for a month. I stayed with my sister for 2 months. I moved into an apartment with 2 guys I didn't know. Just a cat.
Leave me for a second. I want to make sure that. Oh.
He's like, I'm on the podcast. Such an idiot. You're so cute. But today is one of our worst days.
This is maybe the cover of the podcast. That one.
Let me show him. So good.
Can you see? Yeah. Where's Apps in this picture?
He's right there.
Oh yeah.
Hey bud. Such a good picture. Anyway, so that breakup was so bad and devastated me so much. And it was like, it's funny. I have a friend of a friend that was telling me that her daughter's 16 and she just got dumped, and it was like her first boyfriend. They were together for 2 years. And I was like, oh, it's so good to do that young. Like I was 25 and people were like, yeah, you'll get another boyfriend. I was like, but I've never had another boyfriend. Like it was just like, and it was so many, like, you know what I mean? Like first boyfriend, first long-term relationship, lived together, first person that said he was going to marry me, and I didn't even want to get, that was one of the biggest issues. I didn't want to get married and I didn't want to have kids. But then when he broke up with me, I was like, I thought we were getting married. Like, I was like he would tell me we were going to retire in the Bay Area, and I was like, what? I was like 23, like we were 22 when I met him, and I was like, what? Like, why is this all planned out? And I was not into it, but I was also like, how nice to know that he wants to be around, and I loved him. But I guess, hey, but stop biting me, I'm working. Not far enough. Shit. Crazy cat. Sorry, everybody. But like, it was going through that breakup got me into therapy. I think just getting through a breakup makes you stronger. It's there. Okay. Oh, definitely sucks. He called you the other day.
Yeah.
I was in the bathroom and I hear my phone ringing. I was like, why is my phone ringing? And then I look and he had called. Luckily it was Maria, but I was like, what if he called somebody I hadn't talked to in 20 years? I have to be like, oh, hi.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Guess we're catching up now.
Yeah. I can't be like, oh, my cat called you and I still don't want to be your friend. Like, so it got me into therapy. I think getting over your first breakup and going through those motions and finding yourself and picking yourself up and understanding your depression better. Like, there were so many things that I learned through that breakup, and I came out so much strong. Like, I remember, because we didn't talk, I blocked him. I didn't talk to him for 4 years. And then when we got coffee, I was like, it was really important. Like, it was a lot of things that he broke up with me for, because it's not like he just broke up with me. He was like, this is a problem and this is a problem. I was like, what? I don't have problems. And then I went to therapy and my therapist was like, that's a problem. That's a problem. And I was like, he tried warning me and saying, like, these are things that make me feel like I can't be open with you.
Can I ask, and like, I am aware there's no audience, what were some of the things that he found problematic?
Incredibly defensive, like could not. And like, it could be, yes, it's hard to say a big over problem, but like even small problems that you should be able to discuss in a relationship I couldn't hear it. Any criticism, even when it wasn't supposed to be criticism, but it kind of felt, could not hear any of it. And so I was impossible to talk to, incredibly over the top dramatic, and everything was happening to me. Everything. Like I'll be honest, if I was 22 and the pandemic happened to me.
No, I still felt that
nobody
way.
else. So I was impossible to talk to. Everything was a meltdown and a catastrophe, inconsolable. Like, so I would come to you because I was sad, but you also couldn't make me feel better. Just overly dramatic in all senses. I've always been like, I thought I was a good girlfriend because I was kind and thoughtful and made time for you and, loving. But those are outward facing, those things are important. You know what I mean? But those are like beginning surface why you would get in a relationship with somebody. They're nice to me. They're loving. They want to spend time with me. Those are like the first couple of months of where you go, oh, this person seems nice and I want to get to know them. But like, then you couldn't get to know me further because I was so scared and I held everything to my chest and you couldn't talk to me. And there was no like, hey, you did this and it hurt my feelings. It was like, well, I didn't fucking mean to do like, I just I either shut down or I lashed out. And he tolerated it for over 3 years. And he was just more mature than me.
Yeah.
Like he was a recovering alcoholic. So while he wasn't in therapy, he was in program and dealt with his feelings and dealt with his demons and stuff like that. And he was legit more mature. He was 5 years older and he was in this program and he just was so, and it's funny as I've been in therapy and matured as a person, but just even self-awareness and stuff like that. Like, I'm grateful.
You're calling him now, like, I'm ready.
No, definitely not.
No. Still had other issues.
Yeah, there was other problems, but I would say that was a big turning point. Going to Spain, one of my best friends from college is an artist, and he's from Madrid, and he had an exhibit, and I was like, I'll come. And I booked a show, and I stayed with him and his mom, and he showed me around Madrid. We went to Barcelona for a day. Like I've never really traveled. I don't think I've ever been out of the country, and I'd never done a show out of the country, and it went really well. And especially in a country that doesn't have a lot of English speakers, and it was advertised as this English speaking show. I did improv on the show because they asked me to, and I didn't know how to say no.
You couldn't improvise a no.
Yeah, I couldn't improvise a no.
Guess
I was
we're
like,
doing this.
yeah, it ended up being really fun, but like it just opened me up so that when you did that military tour all over Europe and was like, hey, and I've always wanted to go to London. That was like my big, I always knew, but I just didn't know how to do it. When you did that whole military tour and you're like, I'm going to go stay with Olivia. Do you want to come to London? It was like the perfect excuse of making this working vacation. And that really set things off. That was like a year later.
Actually, yeah, London was a big turning point for both of us. And when I was 20, I read Bridget Jones's Diary, and it sounds like I'm being funny. Genuinely made me want to go to London so bad. Like I wanted to live in London because of that fucking book.
Yeah.
Thank you, Helen Fielding.
Yeah.
And so then I lived with Olivia in LA, and then she moved back to London. So when I was on the military tour, I was like, oh, I can go to London. Called you. So we set up a thing and we set up shows. And so we were both there at the same time. And it was like
so helpful because we both had somebody we knew and we could stay with. So that was like a foundation. But then we both could be touristy and do shows and explore. And that was a foundation. It was like it made it so it wasn't scary on multiple levels.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was lucky that Julia Cameron was in the audience when we did Angel, because then she booked us separately on like different trips, but like for Jongleurs, which we didn't know at the time was a nightmare of a club.
But it paid and it got us back out there.
It paid to the point, like, because we were used to making nothing and they were paying hundreds.
Yeah.
But they booked us for so many that it like was like feasible to like, if we do this trip that like breaks us even, then we can like book in more and actually make some money, which was unheard of, at least for me at that time with comedy.
But it changed. So what's interesting about going to Spain and both doing those, like, this is like the beginning of Instagram. And so I didn't even know what to do. I would just post like, I'm in Spain, I'm in London, I'm in Belgium. And so I would come back and people would be like, how was Europe? And I was like, oh, people, even though I was gone for a month and a half, people knew what I was doing. And also people were like, whoa, she must be doing well. She's working in Europe. Like it's a different beast and people didn't know how to do it. So like that changed how people saw me as a comic. It changed how I saw myself. It changed my way to make money. And it changed everything. It really, and to the point where I was thinking about moving there because I was like, they're paying attention to me more than home is. But then by going away, people were like, oh, she must be doing something. And more people started booking me back home.
Yeah.
It's
so funny how you have to like go away to come back. Did I say that right?
Yeah. Go away to come back.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I totally know what you mean.
Yeah, 100%. So that was, and then I would say the last kind of real turning point was when I was 28, I think 27, 28, I kind of lost, everything was shitty. Like everything was shitty. Like my manager stopped being a manager. So I lost my manager. My brother got really sick and I was just like losing my mind because I was so scared. And because I was like with a guy that I liked, but I was like, this isn't working out. I was just like, I can't focus on this thing that I don't even barely want to do. So I broke up with him and then wasn't really getting bookings, just felt like nothing was happening. I just felt like at this kind of stalemate and I was just so sad and depressed. And I had this epiphany talking to a friend that wasn't a comic because she basically was like, if you hate comedy so much, why don't you quit? And I was like, I didn't say I hate comedy.
Yeah,
I don't hate comedy. I go, it makes me miserable, but I don't hate it. But what I really did was, and I was mad at her, talk about being defensive. I was so mad at her. I was like, you don't get it. But it made me realize that I love comedy. I still to this day love it. I love writing. I love working out the issues of jokes. I love performing. I love everything about comedy. I hate the industry. The industry has made me feel small and uncreative and unimportant and just completely devalued the thing that I love. And I put too much importance on being validated. And social media, I was still starting to learn it. And I decided because I didn't have a manager, I was going to make social media my manager. The point of a manager is to get my name out there. And the point of social media is to put your name out there. I was going to make social media my manager. And this is right when I would say Chris in social media. I met Chris, my old roommate at he got back from the military. He was taking free headshots. My friend Nitika recommended that I reach out to him. And after our shoot, we went and picked up this book by Gary Vaynerchuk, who's now like the big social media guru. But it was called Crush It, and it was about how to utilize social media. So I read that book, and I started reading any book on social media, and I was like, okay. And then I was like, I'm going to do basically anything I can do without the industry I was going to do.
Yeah.
I could make an album on my own. I could tweet on my own. So I just started doing that, and it changed the game. Like, the reason I even have a career is because of social media.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think, a decision I made 10 years ago, or a decision to do stand-up 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like,
it's funny what you think are major turning points, and then you realize like actually it goes back even further. And you're like, oh, that was more of the turning point that even led me to this turning point.
yeah.
You're like, oh shit. Tell us about your turning points.
Yeah. Was it getting a cat that bites you? He's so insane.
Maybe it's because you shake him around like
that. No, that's what he gets for being crazy. You're being crazy. So cute. I would like to know, I like hearing people's turning points, because I think it really kind of, it's like I said, like even you talking, I added too. And then I fully believe by understanding that, you start to be like, oh, that was a risk, and I didn't know how it was going to end up. And it was one of the most important risks I ever take, because I do think you're more likely to take risks when you're younger, but you should constantly be taking risks. Like, I think that's something you should always be doing, and you should have multiple turning points. Like, if I'm saying my last turning point was 9 years ago, I'm due for a turning point.
I'm due for a turning point. That's such a good way to put it.
Let's make our turning points.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks, guys. See you next week. Bye.